Hello and welcome to News Central Studios, reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Sulaiman Alede, and here are the top stories this hour. A coup attempt has been foiled in Niger 2 days before a new president is sworn in. Tanzania's president has reshuffled her cabinet as a new vice president is sworn in. 30 people have been killed in an attack on a village in Ethiopia's OROMIA region. Details shortly. We begin in West Africa, where an attempted coup has been foiled in Niger Republic. Members of the Presidential Guard fought off a military unit that had tried to seize the presidential palace in the capital, Niamey, in the early hours of Wednesday morning. The attackers from a nearby airbase fled when the guards responded with heavy shelling. The government spokesman said several people had been arrested. The attack comes 2 days before the swearing-in of new President Mohamed Bazoum. Nigeria has experienced 4 military coups. The last was in 2010. Now for more on this, I'm now being joined by Dr. Joshua Bolarinwa. He's the Divisional Head of Security and Strategic Studies at the Nigerian Institute of International Relations. Good to have you join me, Dr. Bolarinwa. You know, the foiled attempted coup in Niger Republic came as a rude shock to the world. What are the implications of this on the country as well as the continent?
This seriously portrays a bad image because the continent under the guise and the direction of the African Union does not support any change of government through using force or coup or whatever means that is other than elections. So this portrays a bad image, a bad signal for a country like Niger that has witnessed coup for 5 times. What happened today, this one makes it the 5th time. The first time Niger witnessed military coup was in 1974. The second time was in 1996. The third time was in 1999. The 4th time, like you said earlier, was in 2010. And today's coup attempt made it the 5th time. The 5th coup attempt in Niger Republic. So for a country like Niger that has never witnessed a transfer of democratically elected president to another democratically elected president, as we are going to witness in the next 2 days, that is Friday, when the current president, Mahamadou Issoufou, who had been there since 2011, will hand over to the president-elect, Mohamed Bazoum. So it's a bad image. If the coup had been able to stay true, or if the coup had succeeded, it would have been a bad image for the continent. Precisely, Article 50 of the AU Constituent Acts bluntly, directly goes against any change of government through the use of force or military coup will not be recognized by the continent.
Let me quickly comment here, Dr. Bolarinwa. Do you have an idea of why the soldiers attempted this coup, knowing full well that this came after a successful and peaceful election in Niger?
Anyway, I want to believe that there could be so many reasons why these soldiers are trying to use the coup to change the government, or particularly to remove the incumbent president, like I said, Mahamadou Issoufou, who is due to live in the next 48 hours. These people who planned this coup must have their own reasons. But I want to believe that There cannot be any reason other than being selfish. There cannot be any reason other than being agent of destabilization. For the first time that this Niger Republic as a country that has witnessed 5 different coup scenarios wants to transfer power from a democratically elected president to another democratically elected president. They want to foil it, they want to stop it. So they are agents of destabilization. They are agents of destabilization, and they don't mean well for that country called Niger. So basically, I want to believe they are people who don't mean well for their own country. Not only that, there are people who also don't want the progress the country is making presently to be sustained, particularly democratically. So I want to also believe that there have been increased incessant attacks of jihadists since the president-elect Mohamed Bazoum had won the election. There have been increased jihadist attacks. So,
well, I'm afraid, Dr. Balawa, that's all we can take for now. Many thanks for unpacking this for us on the news. Thank you for your time. Now, talking about leadership on the continent, electoral policies in many countries on the continent have come under heavy criticism in recent times. Critics express concern over the age of African leaders in relation to the continent having the highest population of young people in the world. In our next report, News Central's Jibril Folami speaks exclusively with Dr. MUIZ BANRE, a former national legal advisor of Nigeria's ruling All Progressive Congress, on some of the ills of leadership in Africa and the possible way forward.
At 60 years of independence, Nigeria, the most populated country in Africa, has 50% of its population under the age of 19 and a median age of 18 years, according to Statista. Yet in the last election, had top presidential candidates in their 70s, with the current president at the age of 78. Many years after, Nigerian youths are still referred to as the leaders of tomorrow. News Central's Jibril Folami speaks to former politician and legal practitioner Dr. MUIZ BANRE to discuss issues preventing significant number of youths from holding political offices within the country. Dr. MUIZ BANRE explains the flaws in the electoral system and policies holding the nation back.
Well, for me, I've told you, the electoral system as it is, as President of the Constitution said, is not likely to lead to any good product in terms of elected officials. In fact, I'm beginning to think radically that even the power of franchise has to be reviewed. We need informed people to take informed decisions.
Dr. BANRE highlighted that parameters such as age are no longer enough to determine voter eligibility in order to elect the best candidates. He also pointed out that a leader's age factor directly affects efficiency in service.
Let me tell you the reality. The man has confessed to all of us from his section. He said, age has caught up with me. It's a factor. It's a major factor in this business. We've been in government before. Those things I could do when I was commissioner in Lagos, I can't do them again, even at now. In those days, I could do 3 days without sleeping. I dare not do it now.
While the minimum age to qualify as a presidential candidate in Nigeria is 35 years, and one would expect more young people to be empowered to campaign for political offices, Dr. BANRE says, sadly, this has not been the case.
I tend to believe that whoever must be president of Nigeria, in my view, should not be more than 60. So you must give them the opportunity of paddling the ship of the nation. That is our conviction at USA. I will believe that one of the ways to do it is to continue to train them, get the community to appreciate them, and where necessary, try to guide them in the right path.
As Africans continue to hope for a paradigm shift in the ages of their leaders, the big question on the minds of many is, when does this promised tomorrow actually begin? Gabriel Egu, News Central Lagos.
Or you can watch the rest of the interview online on our YouTube channel. Not all the news in neighboring Nigeria. In Nigeria, police in the commercial capital of Lagos has arraigned 60 suspected cultists arrested at various points and communities. The suspects each face a 13-count charge for various offences, including conspiracy, murder, cultism, unlawful possession of firearms, and breach of public peace. They will be the first to be prosecuted under the new Lagos State Anti-Cultism Law of 2021. The new law provides that on conviction, court members risk jail term of 21 years, while their parents risk 2 years in prison or a fine of 500,000 naira. An appeals panel at the International Criminal Court on Wednesday upheld the 2019 acquittal of former Ivory Coast President Laurent Gbagbo. Judges ruled that Gbagbo's acquittal was proper and dismissed objections by prosecutors as procedural. Duty counsel for the ICC, Deepak Massey, said any person aggrieved by the decision can take further steps in accordance with the law. President Faustin Archange Touadera of the Central African Republic has been sworn in on Wednesday in a ceremony attended by foreign dignitaries in the capital Bangui. President Touadera was re-elected for his second term on December 27, 2020. The swearing-in was held at the National Assembly. Dignitaries present include Burundian President Evariste Ndayishimiye, Rwandan Prime Minister Edouard Ngirente, Gabonese Prime Minister Rose Christian Osuka Raponda, and Cameroon's Prime Minister Joseph Dion alias Ngute. Now, in East Africa, Tanzania President Samia Suluhu Hassan has announced the appointment of a new finance minister and foreign minister in a cabinet reshuffle. The announcement was made after the swearing-in of Vice President Philip Pango. President Hassan appointed Mwigulu Nchemba as the Minister of Finance and Planning to replace Pango. The president also appointed Liberata Mula as new Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation. Hussein Yahya Katanga, Tanzania's ambassador to Japan, was also announced as the new Chief Secretary, replacing Bashiru Ali. Now, in the Horn of Africa, residents say gunmen have killed 30 people in an attack on a village in Ethiopia's OROMIA region. Gunshots were heard during the raid on the village in Olega zone, and locals fled with their family to a government office. Survivors blamed the attack on the Oromo Liberation Army. The regional government's communications office said an unknown number of civilians were killed in what it called a terror attack. The United Nations humanitarian says that the security situation in Mozambique remains volatile and is of concern. Spokesperson for the UN Secretary-General, Stefan Dujarric, said this during a virtual press conference, adding that about 8,000 people have been registered at arrival points by the UN Migration Agency, IOM. In North Africa, 105 Libyan prisoners loyal to renegade military commander KHALIFA HAFTAR have been freed in a reconciliatory move in line with the United Nations-backed peace process following years of fighting. They were released earlier today following a ceremony in Zawiya, 45 kilometers east of Tripoli, after which they reunited with their families. Vice President Abdullah Al-Lafi praised the liberation of the prisoners as a concession in the interest of the nation and called for further reconciliation and rebuilding. In Egypt, former Prime Minister Kamal al-Ganzouri, who served for 2 terms, has died at the age of 88. Al-Ganzouri passed away at the Air Force Hospital after a long battle with illness. Now, he served as Prime Minister between 1996 and 1999 under the ousted President Hosni Mubarak and head of a National Salvation Government in 2011, following the uprising that toppled Mubarak. He was appointed as advisor to the President for Economic Affairs in 2013. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has described Genzuri as a unique statesman who has been loyal to Egypt, its people, and the soil. When the news returns, there's a warning about the use of an anti-parasitic drug as treatment for COVID-19. Details of the story and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Algeria's health ministry has warned against the use of the anti-parasitic drug vermectin to treat COVID-19 as it poses a danger to human health. The ministry sent a letter to local health authorities warning that the drug was circulating on the black market and the public should be aware of the dangers arising from the use of this medication in humans. The pill is currently not licensed for human use by the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. It is only registered to treat parasites in animals. It is now widely accepted that the Earth climate is changing, and Africa is the most negatively impacted continent, mainly due to its high levels of vulnerability, low adaptive capacities, and widespread poverty, with global warming taking a toll on African communities. News Central's Chidima Iheanatu tells us more.
Over the years, the Earth's climate has fluctuated from dry season to warmer seasons, which has contributed to food insecurity, population displacement, and stress on water resources. One of the many injustices of climate change is that it hits the world's poorest countries hardest. African nations, many of which register the highest levels of poverty and emit the least carbon dioxide, are already being ravaged by global warming caused by human activities.
There's a lot of work to do in Africa, though it's quite obvious out there, the effects in Africa. Largely, the northern part of Africa is surrounded by deserts, and we have a lot of desertification going on there as a result of some of the effects of global warming. And, in these very dry places, there's drought.
Today, roughly 25 million headers of cattle, sheep, goats, and other livestock travel south with their animals during the dry season and then back north during the wet season.
Yes, there's a lot we need to do. One, we have to increase on our, creating awareness. But the greatest challenge we have in Africa is the level of poverty. Because of the huge poverty, people are not ready to listen. Even when they try to listen, they don't understand you. Between
2030 and 2050, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year from malnutrition, malaria, diarrhea, and heat stress alone. The direct damage costs to health are estimated to be between 2 to 4 billion per year by 2030. Globally, the period from 2011 to 2020 was the hottest decade ever recorded. The latest decadal predictions covering the 5-year period from 2020 to 2024 shows continued warming and decreasing rainfall, especially over North and South African, and increased rainfall. With a population of 1,373,486,524 in Africa, climate change cannot be overemphasized. Chidima Iheanatu, News Central Television.
Well, the French President Emmanuel Macron has announced that schools will close for at least 3 weeks as part of new national restrictions to fight rising COVID-19 cases. Mr. Macron said that schools would move to remote learning from next week. Lockdown measures introduced in some areas of France earlier this month are also being extended to other districts. All non-essential shops are to close from Saturday, and there will be a ban on traveling more than 10 kilometers from home without any good reason. France has so far reported more than 4.6 million cases of coronavirus and over 95,000 COVID-related deaths. Now, Indonesian search teams have retrieved the missing voice recorder from the Sriwijaya airplane that crashed into the Java Sea in January of 2021, killing all 62 people on board. Officials say the cockpit voice recorder was found under 1 meter of mud, adding that it would take up to a week to retrieve the recording. The authorities hope that the data from the black box can give vital clues on the possible cause of the tragedy. There were 50 passengers, including 7 children and 3 babies, with 12 crew on board. The Ivory Coast cocoa regulator says domestic processing of cocoa beans will surpass 1.2 million tons within 2 years. The Coffee and Cocoa Council at a news conference on Wednesday said the government is pushing to transform more cocoa beans into products. In South Africa, latest figures have shown the country's trade surplus widened to about 28.96 billion rand in February from a revised surplus of 12.42 billion rand in January. Now, this is according to data released on Wednesday by the South African Revenue Service. The figures showed exports increased by 16.5% on a month-on-month basis to 128.25 billion rand, while imports rose to 1.6% to 99.29 billion rand. South Africa's men's football coach Molefi Nseki has been sacked after Bafana Bafana failed to qualify for next year's Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon. Nseki was dismissed in the wake of a disastrous final 2 matches at home to Ghana and then away to Sudan, from which they got only 1 point. In the aftermath, Nseki admitted he was very much aware of the emotional pain the losses have caused all South Africans. The announcement of Nseki's sack said further details will be provided. No mention was made of an interim replacement. Well, and that's all on the news this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. A coup attempt has been foiled in Niger just 2 days before a new president is sworn in. Tanzania's president has reshuffled her cabinet as a new vice president is also sworn in. Finally, we told you that 30 people have been killed in an attack on a village in Ethiopia's OROMIA region. Now you follow us on social media at News Central TV. Catch up with the latest news and our programs downloading the News Central TV mobile app on Play Store and iOS. Go on Star Times, channel 274. I'm Sulaiman Ahmed and many thanks for watching.